My mother's chemotherapy failed, and her last wish was for our family to have a reunion dinner together. However, on the day of the reunion dinner, Morton's new lover showed up at the door with a pregnant belly to provoke us. My mother was so angry that her condition worsened, and she passed away that very night. I called him several times in a row, but no one answered. He didn't call me back until I had made all the arrangements for my mother's funeral. He said indifferently, "The girl is young and naive. You and Mom shouldn't take it to heart and argue with her. She's in a moody state during pregnancy now. Don't go looking for trouble with her. If you can't accept her, I won't let her appear in front of you again in the future. Anyway, she's the mother of my child after all. I have to spare some time to be with her. I'll come back to accompany you on weekdays, and I'll stay with her outside on weekends." Listening to his tone that left no room for negotiation, I neither argued nor made a fuss. I just gave a soft hum in response. I turned around and submitted the application to be a doctor without borders. Since the promises made in our youth have come to nothing, then I'll let him go, and also let myself go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. When listening to Morton talking about his arrangements, I calmly flipped through the requirements for applying to be a doctor without borders. Finding that I met all the requirements, I didn't hesitate and started filling out the application form. After Morton finished saying what he wanted to say, hearing the faint sound of keyboard tapping, there was a hint of displeasure in his voice. "Lena, did you hear everything I just said to you?" I gave a faint hum as a response, but he fell silent. It seemed that he didn't expect me to agree so readily. After a while, he lowered his voice and sighed. "Lena, it would have been great if you were this obedient before." Hearing these words, I paused and forgot what I was doing for a moment. I suddenly remembered the countless arguments we had before. In the 5 years since we got married, there have been countless women who came to our door to provoke me. I still remember that when I was first provoked by someone coming to our door, I was so devastated that I smashed the whole house and hysterically questioned him why he treated me like this. At that time, there was only weariness in his eyes when he looked at me. He defended himself repeatedly. "I was just playing along with her for work. There's nothing between us. How many times do I have to tell you before you'll believe me?" He was disappointed in my lack of trust in him and also felt tired of my easily believing what others said. Afterwards, I reflected on myself, wondering if I was really being too suspicious. For this reason, I lowered my stance, apologized to him, and sought his forgiveness. But not long after, the gossip news about him and a popular celebrity entering a hotel at the same time topped the trending list. I went crazy again and had a big argument with him. I just wanted an explanation from him, but he looked at me with disappointment in his eyes, shaking his head. "Lena, in your eyes, am I really that untrustworthy? Since that's the case, then I'll do as you wish." Since then, he no longer tried to hide it and frequently made it to the trending list with various women. I even saw with my own eyes him passionately kissing a woman in a car. When I confronted him about it, he no longer explained and started using silence as a response. In the past 5 years, I've lost count of how many times we've quarreled, but I deeply felt exhausted. I thought about getting a divorce from him and completely letting go of this ridiculous and tragic marriage. However, my mother's greatest wish was to see me happy. She endured the pain of illness every day, and I couldn't bear to make her worry and be sad about my affairs. So I kept enduring. I deliberately avoided all things related to Morton and turned a blind eye to the women who came to provoke me. I thought that in this way, I could maintain the superficial happiness, until the moment before my mother passed away. She was as thin as a stick, lying on the hospital bed and crying silently. Her words were slurred as she said, "My dear, it's all Mom's fault for hurting you. Mom just wants you to be happy. If you're feeling sad, just let yourself go." Her last wish changed from a simple reunion dinner to hoping that I would be happy. Thinking of my mother's words before she passed away, my eyes filled with tears, and my voice trembled with a hint of a choke. I said to him, "Morton, you can't give me the happiness I want anymore, can you?" He didn't directly answer my question. Instead, he just let out a silent sigh. "Lena, we're both in our late 20s. Our thoughts should be more mature. Whether there's love or not isn't that important." He was indirectly telling me that he didn't love me anymore. I understood the meaning behind his words and couldn't help laughing, but there was a sad sob in my laughter. "Okay, then I'll let you go, and I'll also let myself go. The moment these words fell, my heart suddenly trembled. 5 years ago, Morton said something similar to me. At that time, our living conditions were difficult, and we lived in a dim and shabby rented house. The only ring he could offer me was a simple plain silver ring. When he proposed to me, he said to me piously and eagerly, "Lena, I promise you that wherever I am, that's your home. In the future, I will definitely give you the most wonderful haven, so that you won't suffer any more hardships, and you'll only have happiness for the rest of your life." I believed his words and accepted his proposal. He was like a child who had received a precious gift, dancing with joy and exclaiming, "Lena, from now on, you're my Morton's wife. We'll never be separated in this life. Don't even think about making me let go of your hand." But now, he has forgotten his previous promise. After I said that sentence, he didn't refute it. Instead, he said, "Okay, but don't worry. The position of Mrs. Brown will always be yours for a lifetime, and no one can take your place." When we first got married, whenever I heard the word, Mrs. Brown, I would always be overjoyed and proud of it. But now, this word has long become ironic, since he frequently made it to various trending lists with other women. Many people in the circle have pitied and sympathized with me. Some even sarcastically said to my face, "Judging by Mr. He's way of changing women, it's uncertain how long you can still be Mrs. Brown. While you still have the chance, you might as well find a way to have a child. Maybe you can get more money in the divorce settlement." If she could have a child, why hasn't there been any news about her pregnancy in the 5 years since she got married? In my opinion, it's because she can't have children, so she can't keep Mr. He's heart with a child. They didn't know that in the first year after we got married, I once had our child. It was just that at that time, when Morton was socializing with others, he was maliciously forced to drink and humiliated, in order to secure the cooperation. Even though he knew he was being looked down upon, he still endured it and faced it with a smile. I just happened to come out after a team-building activity with my colleagues and saw this scene. My eyes turned red with sadness. I felt sorry for his forbearance and for the fact that he still had to force a smile even though his stomach hurt from drinking. I walked over and wanted to take him away. Those people, however, started egging me on, saying that as long as I drank a glass of strong liquor, they would not only sign the contract but also arrange for someone to send us home. I knew how much effort Morton had put into securing this project. I couldn't bear to see him disappointed, so I mustered up the courage to drink the strong liquor in front of them. That day, he got the long-awaited cooperation. We also lost our first child. Since then, no matter how hard we tried or how we adjusted our bodies, I never got pregnant again. Perhaps this is the punishment from heaven for my failure to protect our child. Heaven also thinks that I don't deserve to be a mother. After Morton's words fell, the tears welling up in my eyes silently dropped, landing on my cool hand and bringing a burning sensation. After dealing with my mother's funeral arrangements, I went back to work at the hospital as usual. My supervisor knew about my application to be a doctor without borders and came to ask me specifically, "Lena, have you really thought this through? The place they're going to this time is a country still in the midst of war. Once you go there, you'll have to face a life under gunfire every day." Teacher, I've thought it through for a long time. I wanted to go before, but I just never found the right opportunity. Before, I couldn't let go of my seriously ill mother. I couldn't let go of Morton either. Now, my mother has left me forever, and the Morton who once loved me is also gone. I no longer have the obsession to stay here. For me, it's all the same wherever I am. I might as well do something meaningful. Seeing that I was determined, my supervisor didn't try to persuade me anymore. She gave me a few instructions and then walked out of my office. Just as she left, Morton walked in. When he saw me, he asked in confusion, "Where did you say you wanted to go?" Hearing this, I paused in the middle of tidying up the desk. I raised my eyes to look at him and said indifferently, "I'm going on a trip." Since I started working, I rarely go out and see the world. When we were still in college, I would always ask my friends to go on trips to different places and see the scenery I had never seen before. He also knew about this. He didn't have any doubts and agreed, "That's okay. Going out more is good for your health. By the way, Jennifer is going to come to your hospital for a prenatal checkup. Help her arrange a suitable time." He didn't make any preparations, and directly stated his purpose of coming. He didn't even bother to pretend anymore. My heart was stung for a moment. and I couldn't help but think of the child we had lost before it was born. Suddenly, I really wanted to loudly question him, when he was now eagerly looking forward to the birth of their child. Did he ever think of our child? But I opened my mouth and then gave up the idea. The past is gone, and there's no need to bring it up again. Or perhaps, he had already forgotten. I suppressed the surging emotions in my heart and reminded him. The doctors in our hospital are all very responsible. You can just register and wait in line. As soon as the words fell, a familiar figure appeared at the door of the office. Jennifer slowly walked in with her visibly pregnant belly, and she took Morton's arm and said pitifully, "Morton, does Dr. Lena not want to help us? It's all my fault for forgetting to make an appointment. Otherwise, you wouldn't be wasting your time here." Morton didn't push her away. He gently pinched her small face and said tenderly, "I have enough time to accompany you and the baby. It doesn't matter if she doesn't want to help. I'll wait with you." Noticing that she seemed a bit tired, he affectionately kissed her on the forehead and softly soothed her in her ear. The warm scene in front of me was extremely dazzling to me. There was a time when he was also this gentle to me. He would gently soothe me, make funny faces to make me happy, and spend all the money he had to buy me the necklace I liked to make me happy. He said that whatever other girls had, I would also have. He kept striving for success. No matter how hard and tiring it was outside, he would still smile at me when he came back and tell me the interesting things that happened to him outside. Even when he was so tired that he could barely keep his eyes open, he would still chat with me and listen to me talk. He said that he felt very satisfied that way, but I don't know when it started. We gradually went from talking about everything to being silent when facing each other now. I averted my eyes and no longer looked at the dazzling scene that would bring back my memories. Morton seemed to remember something and said indifferently, "Last time was Jennifer's fault. I asked someone to buy some tonics and will send them to Mom later to apologize. No need. She doesn't need them anymore." On the day my mother passed away, I called him countless times, but no one ever answered. With each time I heard the mechanical and cold female voice, my heart gradually went from being angry at the beginning to becoming numb. I thought about going to settle the score with them and making them pay for my mother, but every time I closed my eyes, I would think of my mother's words before she passed away. She told me not to blame anyone and not to live with hatred. What she wanted was to see me living freely, unrestrainedly, and happily, and I will listen to her words. I will live a free and happy life. Regarding my words, Morton thought I was still holding a grudge against Jennifer for causing trouble, and he frowned unhappily. "Lena, you don't have to keep dwelling on such small matters. The matter is already over." In his opinion, it's over, but in my opinion, it will never be over in my life. I looked at him coldly and said indifferently, "My mother is gone. You won't be able to find her. Lena, don't go too far. After all, she's your mother. How can you curse her like this? She's so seriously ill now. Where else could she be if she's not in the hospital?" My mother treated him better than she treated me when she was alive. She was reluctant to eat the good things and always saved them for him. When he first started his business, he was tripped up by others and lost all his money. It was my mother who took out the money she had saved for most of her life to help him pay off his debts, which allowed him to climb out of the quagmire. But because of him, she couldn't even have peace when she was seriously ill. Jennifer joined in the complaint. "Dr. Lena, I know you and Auntie are angry with me for my previous naughtiness. Can I apologize to you? Morton is really worried about Auntie. Please don't be angry with him. You don't deserve to mention my mother." Hearing her mention my mother, the anger in my heart could no longer be suppressed and erupted in an instant. "Get out of here. I don't want to see you." I suddenly stood up and issued the order to leave. Morton seemed afraid that I would do something to her and quickly protected her behind him. His eyes turned cold when he looked at me. "Lena, is this the professional ethics of a doctor? To maliciously drive a patient away?" As he spoke, he dialed the complaint hotline in front of me and said coldly word by word, "I'm reporting Dr. Lena from the Department of Surgery for violating medical ethics." He said that he wanted to teach me a lesson and let me understand what professional ethics were. Looking at the scene where he accused me without listening to my explanation, the calm in my heart gradually rippled. Before I could say anything, he took Jennifer and turned to leave. The moment they walked out of the office, Jennifer turned her head and gave me a triumphant smile. It was as if she was saying, "See, Morton is on my side. You're a complete loser. Soon, I received a warning from the hospital. My supervisor heard about this and helped me apply to the higher authorities to suspend my job in advance and prepare to go abroad with the volunteer team. After going through the suspension procedures, I went back home. Morton still wasn't back, but his WeChat moments kept being updated. Sometimes he would post a picture of Jennifer's ultrasound scan and share the joy of becoming a father with others. Sometimes he would post a photo of the nursery he decorated with his own hands, with the caption, "Baby, come out soon. Mom and Dad can't wait to see you." He didn't block me from seeing his moments posts. I composed myself and silently gave his post a like. But when I checked again, I found that he had blocked me. I wasn't angry. I clicked on his profile picture and, mimicking his actions, added him to my blacklist. From then on, we would never see each other again. In the following days, Morton always felt a sense of unease in his heart. He didn't even hear Jennifer calling him right away. He thought that he had been constantly thinking about visiting my mother but had never gone, which caused stress in his heart. On this day, he left work early and bought a lot of expensive tonics and went to the hospital. But he heard someone say, "Dr. Lena's mother passed away a few days ago. We were the ones who personally sent her to the crematorium, as her son-in-law. Don't you know about this?" Hearing these words, Morton was stunned. His eyes widened in disbelief. Last time Lena said that her mother was gone, he thought it was just angry words and didn't take it to heart at all. Even now, he still couldn't believe it. He forced a smile and said, "Dr. Gloria, don't joke with my wife. Didn't you say before that my mother-in-law could live for at least another 3 months? How could she be gone in just a few days? It's strange. Actually, her previous condition really indicated that she could live for at least 3 months. But I don't know why." When Dr. Lena called the emergency number 120 and sent her back to the hospital that day, there was a severe cerebral hemorrhage that compressed the nerves. It was as if she had been really angered by someone. We tried to save her for 3 hours that day. But in the end, hearing this, he remembered that Jennifer had come to the door that day. So, did his mother-in-law die of anger because of her? It couldn't be. This couldn't be true. He couldn't believe this fact. He kept stepping back, and his body was involuntarily shaking. Lena. Right. Lena must know how her mother's illness flared up. He just needed to give her a call and ask. He tried his best to control his emotions. He braced himself against the wall with one hand to steady himself and took out his phone with the other hand to call Lena. But no matter how many times he called, all he got in return was the mechanical and cold female voice. He looked at the unconnected phone in confusion, and his heart sank. No wonder Lena said she wanted to let him go recently. It turned out that her mother's death had hit her so hard. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt that he was really a terrible person. Not only did he not notice something was wrong in the first place, but he also kept blaming her. He thought that when he got home and saw Lena, he must apologize to her sincerely. He came out of the hospital and drove home without delay. But the moment he opened the door, he froze in place. All the wedding photos in the living room were gone, and the cushions with their photos on the sofa were also missing. Even the shoes in the shoe cabinet were only his. Morton walked unsteadily and stumbled into the room. The room was even cleaner than the living room. The big red wedding quilt that Lena had been reluctant to throw away after years of quarrels was nowhere to be seen. The dressing table he bought for Lena with his first salary, even though there were cracks on the tabletop after so many years, Lena still hadn't been willing to throw it away. Now it was all gone too. He didn't know that everything he had bought for Lena over the years had either been sold or thrown away by her. She didn't leave herself any items that carried memories. The only thing she left for him was a divorce agreement with her signature on it. How could this be? He had never thought that Lena would not answer his calls, let alone that she would leave without a word. Morton's eyes turned red. He was unwilling to accept this and searched around the room for her figure. "Lena, where are you? Stop playing hide-and-seek with me. This isn't funny at all." As he shouted, his voice gradually took on a sobbing tone. But there was no longer anyone who would happily respond to him and say, "I'm here. You scaredy cat." Were you scared? Morton sat in the house for a long time. So long that it got dark outside. He kept thinking about the old Lena. She used to be bright, lively, and cute with a touch of playfulness. She seemed carefree, but in fact, she was more sensitive than anyone else. She would always smile and bring out his favorite food when he came home tired, and playfully say to him, "Tell me, are you lucky or not?" When I got home, there wasn't a big table full of delicious food waiting for me. But as soon as you got home, I saw so many dishes on the table. Could there be a fairy maiden living in our house? Every time he saw her smile, he felt extremely comfortable and would always go along with what she said. Yeah, I think so too. And I think our fairy maiden is more beautiful and kind than others. However, when he thought further, the warm scenes turned into endless arguments. The smiling her started to become silent. When something happened, she would always make a big scene. There were always emotions in her eyes that he couldn't understand when she looked at him. He gradually found her annoying and came home later and later every day. Thinking of this, he slapped himself hard on the face in pain. Morton, what on earth have you done? If he had adjusted his mindset like before and always stayed true to his original intention of loving the person he loved, how could he have lost her? It was all his fault. I'm sorry, Lena. I was wrong. Please come back. Okay. His eyes filled with tears, and he sobbed helplessly, longing for Lena to come back. Just then, the phone in his pocket suddenly vibrated. He instantly felt a glimmer of hope. He picked up the phone and looked at it. But when he saw the name flashing on the phone screen, the hope in his eyes instantly vanished. He answered the call with a sense of disgust. Morton, why haven't you come home yet? I'm so hungry waiting for you. If you don't come back soon, your son is going to protest. The voice that he used to think was extremely sweet now made him feel particularly disgusted. I'm not going to your place today. Just eat by yourself. After saying that, without waiting for her to respond, he hung up the phone directly. At this moment, all he wanted to do was find me as soon as possible. His sudden change of attitude made Jennifer feel panicked, but she didn't dare to call him and could only send him text messages from time to time, expressing how much she missed him. However, no matter how many messages she sent, she didn't get a single reply. She was scared. She was afraid that Morton would abandon her, so she urgently went to his company. But she heard that he hadn't been to the company for work for several days. She didn't want to give up and came to his house. When Morton heard the knock on the door outside, he thought Lena had come back. He rushed to open the door eagerly. Lena, you're finally back, he shouted excitedly. But when he saw the face in front of him clearly, his smile froze instantly, and a layer of anger rose in his eyes. What are you doing here? Didn't I say you're not allowed to come here again? Jennifer was frightened by his expression and shuddered. There were tears in her eyes, and she said pitifully, I couldn't get in touch with you. I was afraid that you would leave me and the baby. Morton, don't be like this. You'll scare the baby. It would have been better if she hadn't mentioned the baby. As soon as she did, Morton's anger flared up even more. If you were really scared, you shouldn't have come here. Get out of here and don't set foot in this place again. Jennifer didn't know why he was so angry. It wasn't until she noticed the changed appearance of the living room that she suddenly understood. Morton, isn't Dr. Lena at home? She asked carefully. Morton didn't want to accept the fact that she had left. His face changed several times, and he said stiffly, she went on a trip. She'll be back in a few days. As he spoke, he looked at her with a warning. I've said it. I won't allow what happened last time to happen again. If you dare to have any inappropriate thoughts again, don't blame me for being ruthless. Morton, how can you say that? Everything I did was to give the baby a complete home. You said that after I gave birth, I should let the baby recognize Dr. Lena as the godmother. But have you ever thought about whether Dr. Lena would treat our child as her own? She would just hate him to death. How could she be kind to our child? Anyway, she can't have children anymore. Why don't you divorce her? After we get married, I'll have as many children as you want. Jennifer blushed shyly and became more and more excited as she spoke. She didn't notice at all that Morton's face had darkened. Before she could get the answer she wanted to hear, her neck was suddenly grabbed tightly. Regardless of the fact that she was pregnant, Morton grabbed her neck and said harshly, do you think you deserve to be my Mrs. Brown? I'm telling you, in this life, besides Lena, no one deserves to be my wife. Compared with the baby, I choose Lena. Do you understand? If he had had such an awareness before, would he not have lost Lena? While warning her, Morton also felt a pain as if being pierced by 1,000 arrows. He couldn't help but think of Lena who had lost their child after drinking with others to help him secure a cooperation that year. At that time, she was thousands of times more painful than he was now. Jennifer's face turned pale with fear at his ferocity. The pain in her neck made her feel a suffocating sensation. She could only keep begging for mercy. Morton, I was wrong. I won't say that again. When Morton heard her voice, he let go of his hand. Overwhelmed with grief, he said to her, just leave. After you give birth to the baby, I'll give you the money you want. Don't come to me again. No, Morton, I don't want the money. I just want to give the baby a complete home. Jennifer cried and begged him, but she couldn't get any more pity from him. He still heartlessly drove her out. After Jennifer left, he gradually replaced the missing items in the house according to his memory. He thought that when the house was back to its original state, Lena would come back. He looked forward to it every day, but he was always disappointed. And this cycle repeated. After I arrived at the place in need of support with the volunteer team, I shuttled back and forth among the ruins that had been ruthlessly devastated by the gunfire every day. Although life was tough, I felt extremely satisfied. Here, I found the value and meaning of living. At that moment, I was counting the medicines, preparing to send them to my colleagues in another area. Then I heard my supervisor's familiar and loud voice. I thought it was an illusion. When I looked back, my eyes lit up instantly. Teacher, why are you here too? I was worried about you. So I also applied to participate in this mission. And my son has also come to this place recently. Let me introduce you too. If you encounter any trouble here in the future, just go to him. Don't be shy. Before I could refuse, my supervisor pulled me outside. A tall and handsome man in a military uniform suddenly appeared in front of me, making me feel intimidated, and I instinctively saluted. My supervisor was overjoyed when she saw this. This is my son, Larry. He's the same age as you. You don't have to be so polite with him. As she spoke, she started introducing me to him. This is my most outstanding student, Lena. It's not easy for a girl like her to be out here. You take good care of her for me. Don't let a single hair on her head be harmed, or I'll hold you accountable. There was a hint of helplessness on Larry's face, and he nodded repeatedly in agreement. I know. You've said this many times on the way here. My ears are getting calloused. Seeing the interaction between the mother and son, I smiled knowingly. I knew that being stubborn in such a dangerous environment was the stupidest thing to do. So I followed what my supervisor said. Comrade Lou, I'll need your guidance in the future. He was stunned for a moment. A hint of red appeared on his bronze-colored handsome face, and he said seriously, I wouldn't say guidance. It's my duty to serve the people. After the introduction, my supervisor pulled me aside. She whispered, oh, by the way, there's something I need to tell you. Didn't you tell your husband that you applied to be a doctor without borders? He came to the hospital looking for you every day some time ago. I thought he knew about this and told him. It won't affect you, will it? Hearing this, I shook my head. It doesn't matter. He has no right to interfere with my choice. Just ignore him. The airport here has been closed to the outside world for a long time because of the war. Except for relevant personnel, no one can come here. Even if Morton knows, it doesn't matter. Moreover, he only has Jennifer and their child in his heart now. How could he have the time to care about me? That's good. I was afraid it would affect your relationship as a couple. I pursed my lips, looked towards the smoke-filled front, and said solemnly, we'll soon be strangers. I knew that Morton wouldn't agree to the divorce, so I planned to separate for a certain period of time and then go back to apply for a divorce. There was no possibility for him and me to turn back. Divorce was the only option. Time passed quickly, and a year later, I followed the team and withdrew from the battlefield where a ceasefire agreement had been signed and returned to my home country. As soon as I got back, I had nowhere to go, so I booked a room in a hotel near the airport, because it wouldn't be long before I would follow the team to another country in need of our help. After booking the room and coming back, I had a good sleep that I hadn't had for a long time. The next day, I went to meet Larry with high spirits. He had booked the place and time for dinner, and all I had to do was arrive on time. Afraid of being late, I left half an hour early, but I didn't expect that as soon as I stepped into the restaurant. The first person I saw wasn't Larry, but Morton. Morton clearly didn't expect to see me here either. An obvious look of shock flashed in his eyes, which was quickly replaced by the joy of having what was lost found again. Lena, is that you? I'm so glad you're really back. I've missed you so much. The corners of his eyes were red, and his eyes were filled with deep attachment. Morton was so excited that he took a few steps forward, wanting to touch me. I calmly stepped back, avoiding any contact with him. In contrast to his excitement, I was only indifferent and distant. Morton's eyes turned red from being stimulated by my actions, and his voice was choked with sobs. Lena, ever since you left, I've been longing for your return every moment. During the days when you were away, I went to the temple on the mountain every day to pray for your safety. I just hoped that you would come back safely. As he spoke, he took out a treasured safety amulet from his pocket and held it out like offering a precious treasure. Look, Mom once said that the Bayan temple is the most effective place to pray for safety. I specially went there to get this for you. Before he could finish his sentence, a cute little girl came bouncing into the restaurant from outside and shouted, "Mom!" The little girl ran over with a smile and threw herself at my legs, hugging them. I dropped my previous indifference, squatted down, and wiped the sweat from her hair. "What did you play with, Dad? Why are you all sweaty?" Hearing this, Morton's face suddenly turned pale. He looked at us in disbelief and trembled, saying, "Lena, who is she? Why is she calling you Mom?" This girl was adopted by me abroad. Her mother died in the merciless gunfire while trying to save me, and all of her relatives had passed away before that, leaving only her, a little girl. When I first adopted her, she was only 3 years old, thin and small, with mottled bloodstains all over her body, and her eyes filled with endless confusion and fear. She was like a gift from heaven to me, making up for the regret of losing my own child. Half a year after I adopted her, she became fair and soft. When she smiled, there were sweet dimples on both sides of her cheeks, and her eyes were bright and shining. I pinched her chubby little face and introduced her to him. "This is my daughter, Evelyn." Then I added, "Evelyn, say hello to Uncle." Evelyn was very obedient. She smiled sweetly and greeted him. "Hello, Uncle." The color drained from Morton's face instantly. He tried to smile, but he couldn't manage it. "Lena, what's going on? How could you suddenly have a daughter out of the blue? You're just joking with me, right?" I didn't respond to his words and just let out a soft sigh. "Morton, find some time so we can go and get the divorce certificate. Speaking of which," I paused and softened my voice, "your child with Jennifer should have been born by now. You don't want your child to be labeled as a bastard, do you?" "Lena, he's not a bastard. He can be our child," Morton said eagerly. But before he could finish, Evelyn pouted and said unhappily, "A child can only have one mom and one dad. Your baby has his own mom, so Lena can't be his mom." Hearing this, I smiled and stroked her head, then looked at Morton and said calmly, "You see, even a child understands this truth. But you, as a mature adult, don't." "Morton, I have no interest in raising a child for someone who destroyed my marriage, and I don't want to be anyone's stepmother." "You've got the wrong person." Morton's explanation that was on the tip of his tongue seemed so feeble. He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything, because he knew that this idea was really cruel to me. Lena, Evelyn, why haven't you gone in yet?" Larry walked quickly into the restaurant. Seeing that we were still standing there, he asked in confusion. When Evelyn saw him, she waved happily. "Dad, come quickly. Someone is trying to take Mom away from me." The adoption procedures for a child are very complicated. Since I hadn't divorced Morton yet and we were still legally husband and wife, I couldn't adopt Evelyn. So I asked Larry for a favor and let him adopt her first. After I successfully got divorced, we would change the guardian. At this moment, upon hearing Evelyn's address, Morton instinctively looked at Larry, and a hostile look quickly filled his eyes. Larry, however, looked indifferent and didn't pay him any attention at all. He came over and stroked Evelyn's face, then looked at me and said, "It's okay. Your mom won't be taken away easily." He said it with great certainty. I felt a bit helpless but also agreed. That's right. Evelyn is all I need. These words were like a reassurance for Evelyn and also a way to make Morton give up. Sure enough, after hearing this, a hint of bitterness appeared on Morton's lips. He looked at me with unwillingness and said, "Lena, did you think about me when you said that? You really don't want me anymore. From the day you betrayed our marriage, you should have guessed the outcome. Morton, it wasn't me who let go first between us. Now, the ones you should be responsible for aren't me, but Jennifer and your child." Morton looked utterly helpless. "Lena, I never wanted to marry Jennifer. I have no feelings for her. The person I've always loved is you. I was just so envious of other families having children that I made a stupid mistake. I really didn't mean to hurt you." I didn't react much to his words. I just looked at him and said calmly, "Before applying to be a doctor without borders, I had a full body checkup. The result was that I'm perfectly healthy and there's nothing wrong with me at all. It wasn't me who couldn't have children." Upon hearing this, the helplessness on Morton's face froze and was replaced by an expression of disbelief. He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "No, it can't be. You're joking with me, right, Morton? Whether it's a joke or not, you can go for a medical checkup when you get home and you'll know." Then I continued, "I won't be staying here for long. I hope you can figure things out soon and go with me to get the divorce certificate. Otherwise, I'll have to take legal action." He was still my husband in name, but he was living together with another woman as husband and wife and had a child with her. Legally, he had already committed bigamy. Whether it's a peaceful divorce or taking legal action, he's smart enough to make the right choice. After saying this, I went upstairs to have dinner with Larry and Evelyn. Not long after, I heard that despite Jennifer's opposition, Morton insisted on taking the child to the hospital for a paternity test. And the result of the test was as I expected. The child wasn't Morton's. Upon learning the truth, Morton was so angry that he took back all the things he had given Jennifer and mercilessly drove her and the child out. He knew he had no face to pester me any longer and agreed to divorce me. On the day we got the divorce certificate, he no longer had his former elegance. He looked as if he had aged 20 years overnight. There were a few strands of white hair in his black hair. He was filled with weariness and regret. I gave him an indifferent glance, then turned my eyes and walked into the Civil Affairs Bureau. But I heard him say, "Lena, can't we really go back to the way we were?" I didn't respond to him and chose to answer with silence. When it came to signing the divorce papers, I didn't hesitate at all. But he had tears in his eyes and found it difficult to write. "Lena, I've finally lost you." I heard his regretful murmur as I received the divorce certificate. All I said was, "Morton, from now on, we'll each live our own lives and have nothing to do with each other." Then I turned around and submitted the application to be a doctor without borders. Vaguely, I heard soft sobbing coming from behind me, but I didn't look back. Stepping out of the Civil Affairs Bureau and facing the bright sunlight, I looked at Larry and Evelyn who were waiting by the roadside. Larry walked towards me holding a bouquet of flowers and said sincerely, "Congratulations, Miss Lena. You finally achieved what you wanted." "Thank you." Looking at the vibrant flowers in his arms, I murmured, "Larry, if possible, I want to live a bright and passionate life, living up to my mother's expectations and also to myself." Larry's eyes were deep, and his words drifted away with the wind. "You will, Lena. You'll get everything you wish for and have a smooth life, just like the bright and brilliant sunlight, full of vitality."